Instead of using dots like Seurat, Van Gogh painted multi-directional dashes of thick pigment, creating a sense of energy and great surface texture. We can see that here in his very famous painting, The Starry Night, from 1889. It's very different from Seurat, but it's still dealing with similar concepts. Instead of using color as a scientific study, Van Gogh linked the use of color to symbolism and feelings and emotions. In his painting, like this one, Van Gogh communicates his emotions through color and composition. His use of color here is very inspired by artists like Delacroix, who didn't use solid colors, but rather many streaks of color to make a coherent form and shade. Van Gogh takes this idea and he moves it to the next level, as he uses streaks that are more separated. You can obviously see the bold individual brushstrokes, although it makes it look, it still looks coherent, but it does look choppier. To me, it always looks like that you're looking at least the sky anyway, through stained glass. This painting and others made significant contributions to the Expressionist tradition. Expressionism as a term was used to describe works of art in which forms are created primarily to evoke emotions rather than reality. Starry Night is one of Van Gogh's early examples of Expressionism. An image like this one really contrasts to Cézanne's convex shapes, and Van Gogh's paintings are much flatter and more linear than what Cézanne was doing. Van Gogh painted scenes from memory, observation, and imagination. The emotion of Van Gogh's paintings are meant to express the artist's emotion and to evoke powerful emotions within the viewer. This is meant to connect the artist and the viewer. So he had a specific goal, and it was this connection between the artist and the viewer. Van Gogh thought that modern life was full of constant change, constant social change, and had to focus on progress and also success. And because of these factors, these new modern factors of modern life, it alienated people from each other and from themselves, from understanding themselves. So by connecting the viewer and the artist, people aren't as alienated in this modern situation. Some art historians connected this painting specifically to symbols related to death and the afterlife, though one must take Van Gogh's religious background into consideration when analyzing symbolism. Remember that this whole symbolism is about the dead souls journeying to stars and then continuing their life, which was a common concept during the period. But it does contrast with Christian doctrine. And remember that he was actually working in the ministry for a while. And this interpretation is still possible, as Van Gogh was thought to have had a crisis of faith before he came to Paris. Van Gogh's Starry Night is one of those images that we have overseen. When I first started teaching this class, I just wasn't into it. You know, I'd seen it a million times. I just didn't care about it. But the more I teach this class and the more I look at it, I'm just kind of amazed by it, especially knowing like where he was coming from. He's coming from these techniques and from Seurat and from the Impressionists. And I really do feel like that he is putting his emotions into this work, and he does such a great job of depicting these optics here, this different color in the sky, and at the same time conveying his emotions. I love the way that he is expressing light here with the moon and how it shines. It's almost like you're squinting, or if you wear contacts like me, maybe you have some of those starbursts at night. That's kind of what it looks like here in this image. I think it's just one of those images that kind of takes you away and lets you imagine whatever you want to put into it. And I think that was his point. Here are just a couple other images that show you some of his works. This one you can actually, maybe you can see in the slide, or maybe this one's a little bit better. This one's better. You can actually see how thickly he builds up paint on the canvas, you can see that if you were allowed to touch this, which don't you dare, it's a Van Gogh, come on, you would be able to feel the paint's texture. I love the optical effects in this one as well. This is kind of like that Starry Night, and this has the clouds of Starry Night, but this one has that radiating sun, and then this beautiful reflection of this scape here in the water. Van Gogh also painted figures. The Potato Eaters that we're looking at right here reflects his early art. When he was sick back in Holland before he decided to become an artist, he drew pictures like this one. He painted this one in 1885, just before he moved to France. He transformed his intensity of helping the poor into painting them, to show their condition and his feelings towards them. This painting was inspired by the art of the French realists like Millet and Courbet. But he made it his own personal reaction to the social situation. I think Van Gogh was one of those people who had this emotional intensity and compassion, and I think that he felt that way towards people, and it was evident here in this type of image. The comparison between these two paintings is ridiculous. It doesn't even look like the same artist, honestly. This image was painted, Dr. Goucher was painted after he left the asylum, and it's an example of one of his final works and style. 100 years later, it was sold for £45 million. This image shows the evolution of Van Gogh's style maybe a little bit better than even the figural evolution we just looked at. Here is his Impressionist style version of Starry Nights. And when we compare the two, we can see that it is the same artist, but now he has taken Impressionism to the next step. So step one is Impressionism, and step two is Expressionism. Van Gogh is really like an artistic sponge. He soaked up concepts and techniques from other artists, yet his ability to transform them into his own is what makes him an exceptional artist. He is really obviously a very complex person and an artist, and he was mentally disturbed and often very intensely lonely, which ultimately led to his suicide. And this is just a very quick survey look at this artist. He has some very compelling images.